Hello everybody, welcome back to Kanga TV, home of North Melbourne fans and the home of the 2025 AFLW Premiers. Our girls getting the job done against Brisbane once again last night by 40 points, etching themselves into AFLW history. Once again, the first team in the history of the competition to go back-to-back, putting a big stamp, even bigger stamp on the competition, and their legacy is going to be spoken about for decades to come, no doubt. Last season was incredible, and this team is so well-rounded and is so capable of amazing things. When you look at the unbeaten run from 2024 and the grand final and the first premiership for the North Melbourne AFLW side, you looked ahead at season 2025 thinking, what can they do next? What mountains are there still to climb? And there were plenty, and a lot of those were achieved over the course of the season, and the icing on a very rich cake came last night when the girls took home the premiership once again. It is an incredible feeling to have a side that is just so exciting to watch and such a joy to watch, and to really be able to soak up every moment of not just last night, but over the past few weeks and the season that has been. Obviously, we had a little bit of a scare against Melbourne in the preliminary final last week, but dare I say that if that didn't happen, then we wouldn't have been as prepared mentally than we were going into the clash last night. The first quarter was quite tough and quite tense, but after quarter time, the game slowly started to open up a little bit more, and as each quarter went on, the game fell more and more onto our terms, and that pressure, high chaos, fast-moving football just started to show its way into the game, and the North Melbourne blueprint was etched onto the game with every moment, and we were victorious on the final siren. So many fantastic storylines, a very, very happy supporter base today, and no doubt will be riding the high of this premiership for quite some time into the new year. But most importantly, I think the result was exactly what this side deserves. You know, we spoke to Bella, we catch up with Bella on the channel really regularly, and there is a potential that we will be beaten at some point. You know, you kind of go into every week thinking, is this the week it's going to end? Is this the week it's going to end? And I think a lot of us probably felt that way at three-quarter time last week in the preliminary final against the D's, but we were able to dig deep, and it was the heroics of Jazzy Garner and Blabo combining in that last quarter to push us into our third successive grand final. And then it was just the class of Ash Riddell last night. It was the grit and the toughness and the too intense nature of best on ground Ellis Sheeran. It was Jenna Bruton chiming in with 3 goals. There was some familiar faces. Jazzy Garner, once again, fantastic. But then there were also some others who really played out of their skins and played like we haven't really seen them before. I thought Eliza Shannon in her first grand final was outstanding. She was unlucky to miss last year and made way for Emma Carney to return from injury. So to have her as part of this side and to be out there on the field last night and celebrating in premiership glory was just fantastic. I thought Libby Birch in her record 4th premiership record in the AFLW. I thought she was a brick wall down in defence. Not much really got past her last night. Neither did get past her partner in crime in Jazz Ferguson. I thought Emma Carney, she doesn't look like she's slowing down at all, and she spoke during the week how there is a contract in front of her for next season, and she'll take the time to weigh up her options if she does play on in 2026. But I would be looking for her signature sooner rather than later. The professionalism and the intensity and the never say die white line fever edge that Emma Carney brings, I think that's something that we almost lack to a degree in our men's side. You can really see it in our women's side, that mental toughness and that mental edge and that win at all costs mentality. Emma Carney doesn't care who's in her way. She doesn't care what people think about her, what people say. She sees ball, gets ball, and only knows one result, and that is winning and driving this team to victory. And she's done it so many times as a captain, and she's done it so many times as a leader and a senior figure throughout season 2025. And to have her out there last night tackling like her life depended on it, she makes those around her stand a little bit taller and walk a little bit taller. I thought Vicky Wall, her tackling second to none. The brutality and the ferociousness of her tackling was outstanding, and again really set the tone. It was a really high pressure environment for a lot of the game. I thought Brisbane were excellent, and they definitely took it up to us, particularly early on in that first quarter. But the more that Brisbane got their hands on the ball and tried to move it forward, our defense almost lifted as the situation demanded of it. And I know the All-Australian side is a pretend side, and it is something that's put together by a panel of judges, but to look at what our backline and defensive unit were able to do last night to completely shut Brisbane down, who I thought were just about even for a lot of the game in terms of general play. But it was when that ball went into our defensive 50, the defenders, one was standing up. If it wasn't one, it was the other, and just fed so well off each other and absorbed the pressure beautifully and brilliantly. And it's a real testament to what they've been able to do and what we've been able to do as a unit. And the depth of this side, we've spoken about it so many times throughout this year. We've had Jazzy Garner lost to injury for a while. Emma King was out with injury for a while. Bella Eddy, Alice O'Loughlin, Taylor Gatt. A lot of these girls were missing for portions of the season, but it was just next woman up. And every single one of them played their role last night and then throughout the season. And I loved that when the celebrations were going on and the Premiership Cup was handed to the group, Jazzy Garner made sure that she got all of the squad members to come and celebrate and pose with the cup. And it's that one club mentality. It's something that Darren Crocker spoke about during the week as well when he was awarded the Best Coaches Award for the year. He said, he's the recipient, but it's because of the hard work of every single person in that women's football program. And I couldn't agree more. Having said that, Darren Crocker is such a professional. He's such a fantastic leader, cool, calm and collected. When he made his way down to the bench with about 3 minutes to go in that last quarter, when we knew that the game was ours, it was just amazing to see the way that all the players flocked to him and the way he is celebrated. He's been a staple and a fixture of this North Melbourne Football Club for over 3 decades now. And we are so lucky to have such a talented person driving our women's program and driving those standards throughout our women's program from the top down. But the fact that he comes into this football club year in, year out with as much passion, as much fire in the belly as he did the year before. The love that he has for North Melbourne, you almost feel like will never fade and will never dim, because he keeps bringing out the very best of himself every single year. And that's evident in the way that this team goes about their football week in, week out, and the way that all the girls speak about the club on a weekly basis, and the buy-in and the attraction from external players and external figures wanting to be part of this North Melbourne success. I only hope now that this has a flow-on effect back into the men's program once again next season. I think we saw the effects of 2024 and the season that the girls had last year and their unbeaten run in the Premiership. We definitely started to see signs of that in our men's program trickle through season 2025. So hopefully now we've gone one better once again with our women's program in 2025. Hopefully now it has a secondary flow-on effect into the men again in season 2026. They're back at training and they'll be able to immerse themselves in this Premiership glory and in the celebrations, hopefully for the next few weeks before they head off on their Christmas break. And like I said, you just hope that as a whole, we can all take this and have a bit of a taste of success, and it make us hungrier for more, because those girls out there last night, they were definitely hungrier for more. 2024 wasn't enough. They went one better again in 2025, and you dare to dream what we can do in 2026. Best on ground, Ellis Sheeran. For me, she was the difference in the first quarter. I think it was a fairly even first quarter, but she had 10 touches and a goal, and essentially broke the first quarter open in a way. I think she really allowed us to have the game played on our terms when we needed it to, and we were able to make the most of our opportunities when she had the ball in hand. And it was, in my mind, a perfect quarter from her in that first quarter, and I'm so glad that she was rewarded maximum votes for best on ground last night. And she came across to North Melbourne at the end of season 2024 in exchange for pick 18 from Richmond. She was rejected from the Swans initially, that she was too intense for their program. But for us, she clearly fits in quite well. And there's been a lot spoken about North Melbourne and about Brisbane over the past week in particular. Brisbane played 7 out of 10 possible grand finals, North Melbourne in their 3rd consecutive grand final. And the two programs, I think, are quite far advanced beyond the remainder of the competition, the AFLW competition. And I don't think it's for North to be punished. I think it's for the other teams to take note and to start catching up, because a lot of people still have this stigma about AFLW, that it's not enjoyable and that it's not a professional league. But for anyone who has attended any games over season 10, I think the quality and the playing field has definitely stepped up drastically across the league and across the competition as a whole. The preliminary final last weekend, I think, was testament to that. I think Adelaide going out in straight sets and Carlton being able to advance to a prelim also speaks volumes. I think there's definitely a few clubs in there that can take some note. And hopefully we can demand a raise from the rest of the competition to just make this competition continue to grow and continue to get better and better. But for now, it is a pleasure to be able to bask in premiership glory of this incredible North Melbourne side. Last night, a sellout crowd, over 12,000 people at Icon Park. Well done to everyone who went down there. The atmosphere was electric. In the stands, North Melbourne chants screaming around the venue for a lot of the evening, and then being able to be part of the post-game celebrations and be part of the medal presentation on the field as a fan, I thought was awesome and a really unique experience. And just to soak it all in at ground level was really something special. And I think that's another thing, is that the AFLW, it is a professional league, and we are seeing some incredible players in front of our eyes on a week-to-week basis, but they're still so accessible, and they still make us as supporters feel as much of the journey and as important to the journey and as important and integral to the success of the side and of the program as everyone on the field. And I think that's a really special thing as a supporter, but not just a supporter of North Melbourne, but of a side that hasn't seen too much success over the past 5 to 6 seasons. So it was a pleasure and a privilege to be there. Thank you to everyone who came up and said hello, and for your kind words as well. It just blows me away every single time I get to meet you guys. And yeah, it's crazy to think that this is it. This is the last game of season 2025. We've got a couple of months now to kind of sit down and reflect on season 2025, both the men and the women, and what we can do now to go one step further in both programs in season 2026. It's wild to think how quickly this year has gone, and it's a privilege to be here and covering everything with you guys. It definitely makes the tough times a little bit more bearable and the better times even more special. And I really just thank you guys always for being here and for your support and for making all of this possible. Yeah, an entire year of Kanga TV, a full men's season and a full women's season now under our belts before we start to wind down ahead of the Christmas and holiday period, before we get ready to do it all again in season 2026. Just another congratulations to our girls, the entire squad and the entire football program. It is just so remarkable to see what these girls are capable of doing. And last night, there were the usual suspects in Riddell and Jazzy Garner and Emma Carney, but likewise, Ellis Sheeran and Jenna Bruton with her 3 goals played a game for the ages. Haven't seen her play a game like that for quite some time. I thought Talia Randall presented so well at the football. I thought Kate Shearlaw was chipping in and doing some special things, and Taylor Gatt and Ruby Tripodi, Erica O'Shea, Blabo, all of them. Bella Eddy, how could we forget Belle? She got a goal on grand final night, and just all of them were just sensational. And it was a real privilege to be there. It's a privilege to be there every single week to cheer on this side, the men and the women, and to be part of the North Melbourne family and the North Melbourne community. So I'm definitely feeling over the moon today, and it's definitely a feeling that will be keeping with me for a couple of months until we get back into all of the footy action. How are you guys feeling after our premiership victory last night? Feel free to leave all of your thoughts in the comments below. Of course, continue the conversation as always on socials, Kanga TV Show, across Instagram, Facebook, X, and on email. I'll be sure to see you all very, very soon as we start to wind up 2025 and look ahead to a new year, new opportunities, and a new mission. Season 2026 will be with us before we know it. But until then, go Roos.